This is MathSpot. This is going to be the manipulatives place value counters that you can use to help you with your decimals. So the first thing that we need to do is change the values from our counters. Okay, so right now they're ranging from 1 to 1,000, and we need to change that to make them to 1/10 and 1/1000. Okay, really easy. So we shouldn't have to make it anything larger than that for now. But as we move through the unit, you may need to make your values a bit smaller. So as you can see, we've got our 1/10s, our 100s, and our 1,000s. So the next thing that we need to do is change it to table. So by clicking table, it puts it out into our place value chart, which is really useful. The other option is to have a grid. This way isn't as effective, I don't think, if we're looking at adding and subtracting values, and it's really hard to keep the place values in the same place. So I recommend using the table. You don't need to do anything here in exchange base because we want to keep everything base 10. Word values just changes it to the written rather than numerical. And I'm not sure what snap to grid means, so let's not play with that. So we don't want to use exchange down or up, so we're just going to keep everything the same. So the counters that you're given 5 individual pieces. And then after each piece you need to copy. So instead of using each 5 pieces, it's much better to just copy whatever pieces you need. To clear a page, you just need to press tidy and everything goes back to the way that it started. So if I'd like to create a number, I can use my 1/10 and I can just keep it like that because I only want to use 1. Now to use my 100ths, say I want to copy this number in a specific direction, that's what these arrows are for. So instead of moving each individual counter, you can just copy it and the next counter will show up based on the location that you've put it. So let's say I put my 1/10 here in the middle and I want to copy 1 down, it'll pop it down underneath. Now say I want to copy 1 up, it'll do the same thing. Same thing with left and right, except you need to click on the counter that you are wanting it to move in that direction from. So let me just tidy that real quick and we'll get started. So let me just make a random number, something easy to work with. Okay, so I've made the number 134 thousandths. Okay, so say I want to make a subtraction problem. Okay, so I'll just do another random number, something easy for us to work with. So what I'll do is I'll just put my values underneath the ones that are above so that I can see what I'm working with. Oops, I almost made a mistake. Don't want to do that. I want to copy. There we go. Okay, so the next value that I've just made is 123 thousandths. Right, so if I'm looking at this as a subtraction problem, I need to figure out what I have left over. Okay, so I can see here that I can match 3 counters together, so I can remove those 3 counters from the bottom and 3 counters from the top here to see that I have 1/1000th left. Okay, and I can do the same thing for my tenths place. Okay, so I can see I can remove 2, sorry, I mean my hundredths place. Remove 2 from each equation, which leaves me with 1/100ths left. And here, it's an equal amount, so that's what I have left. Okay, so that would leave me with 11 thousandths as my answer to that equation. Okay, so that's a really simple way to try and work out your problems for subtraction. So let me just tidy. So let's say I want to do it for an addition problem instead. Same thing applies. Let me just get those, we'll work with the same numbers. Okay, so there's my first number, 134 thousandths. Ooh, wrong one. And my second value, 123 thousandths. Right, so if I'm adding these values together, very simple. You just count how many are there in total. Okay, so we don't need to do any moving around. That was pretty self-explanatory, of course, but in the end it's just about counting it up. Okay, so one thing that we need to keep in mind is looking at our values here. Okay, so I'm at 7 in my thousandths place, but if I were to add 3 more counters, that would put me at 10 thousandths place counters. Okay, so what I would need to do there is a mental exchange. Okay, so instead of writing 10 of these in your answer, because that will be incorrect, you need to do an exchange, not with these buttons, but you need to understand that 10 thousandths is equivalent to 100ths. Okay, so making sure that in your answers that you're not writing a 1 and a 0 at the end, because that 0 won't have any values. So instead you need to be exchanging it to add another value. Okay, and then all of these would leave. Okay, so that's just sort of a hypothetical situation. Okay, but the same thing is what you would need to do if it was in your hundreds place. You would need to exchange it for another tenths. Okay, so this is how you use MathSpot manipulatives. It's really simple, really easy, and it's not just for place value count, or not just for decimals. You can do it for anything. The website has a lot of different resources that you can look at, but this is the one that I recommend using.